Ba'ash Kawalik, I'm Frank Blanquette. Welcome to FNX Now. The COVID-19 pandemic took its toll on this country in 2020. Countless lives were lost, jobs were lost, and businesses were severely impacted. Amongst those industries were the television and film industry. Many productions came to a halt, and those films slated to be released in theaters were forced to postpone their releases or found alternative outlets that included Netflix, Amazon, and HBO Max, to name a few. But whether it was a major release or an independent film, promotion for these productions in the form of film festivals was non-existent. Today, we will take a look at a feature film that has been released online via Vimeo on demand. The film is titled No Time to Run, and we're being joined by one of its stars, Shawn Michael Perry. Let's take a look at a clip of the film.
Strongest woman I know, even if you don't know
it. Your voice has reached across time and space back to us. Do not underestimate yourself.
When was the last time you did anything for your city? When was the last time you did anything for your country?
I'm a runner. I run away from every challenge I've ever faced.
Wield your voice. It's the most powerful weapon you possess.
That looks intense. Shawn Michael Perry, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Frank's good to see you.
Good to see you too. And Shawn, can you introduce yourself? Tell us your tribal affiliation and a bit about yourself. You were a musician first and got into acting, or what did you first pursue? What was your first passion?
Sure. I am born in San Diego, Chula Vista. My mother is a Maya, like you, and Quechan ancestry. And I've never met my true father. I was adopted by a Swedish man. Was adopted into a family and didn't know much about my cultural background until we moved up into Idaho and Montana, and touched some roots up there with relatives and whatnot, frankly, around the Flathead Indian Reservation. I am not Flathead. I am not a descendant, but I am very woven into the fabric there in some degree. Went to school in Missoula, Montana for high school and college. Have a lot of good friends up on the Flathead. And I also have my son, who I have with a Flathead Salish woman who lives there with my two grandchildren. So I'm also connected in that way. As a youngster, just really was into music and acting and dancing at a very young age. Lived in Guam for a while when my father was in the Navy. And I saw Michael Jackson on the Flip Wilson show. And I had to beg my dad, I got to stay up to see this. I got to stay up to see it. It was like 8 o'clock at night. And I got to see it and it was like, oh my, that's what I want to do. And then some years later, through school and especially in high school in Missoula, got into the choir, got into the drama department. Always had a yearning for it. Then we jumped to the University of Montana, and I'm going to school there, and I'm watching these two actors that performed in a lot of the plays at the time there. One of the names I'll drop is Renee Haynes, who went to school there and was one of the best actors I've ever seen, and who now is one of our greatest casting directors in the Native American film and television department.
You were in a band, Only the Brave. Can you talk to us about the music career that you developed for yourself?
Of course. So what really spurned my music career, not only telling you about Michael Jackson, watching him on television, that was cool. But really, I'll be real honest with you, when we were living in Montana, Redbone and Buffy St. Marie and Floyd Westerman and, it'll come to me, the last guy, Buddy Redbone, all came and performed in Missoula. And I got to see it. And then afterwards, they came to my house. And I'm a young guy at the time, right? And I was like, wow. Now, talk about a band that can perform. Now, I mean, Redbone was, the other groups were great, and I could tell you stories about them too, because I've had relationships with them, if you will, in one way or another. But I will stick to Redbone because they enticed me the most. So, wow, I've never seen people do that on stage. I never seen Native American guys do that on stage. And it wasn't campy. It wasn't, it was musical prowess. I mean, these guys could really get down, man. And the reason I knew that is because I'm watching the crowd and the men and the women are dancing around like spring just came. Never seen nothing like it. To this day, I've been to a lot of concerts and I've seen people sway and I've seen people do certain things, but not how Redbone got people to do things. The whole unison thing, the whole love thing, it was amazing. I'm really, really thankful I got to see that when I was young and even as I got older. Pat Vegas is still alive and his son is doing great things also, PJ. So yeah, what an interesting world I grew up in and was able to be a part of, to be able to rock out with those guys. And so it taught me a lot about songwriting, taught me a lot about how to be a great musician, or at least, maybe I shouldn't say great, but at least aspire to be that, if you will, eh? And I was able to play with a lot of great musicians because of that and met a lot of great musicians. So as we get up into after graduating from school, and then I met a guy named Kurt James, who was the second guitarist for Steeler, the band that most rockheads would know as the Yngwie Malmsteen band. Yngwie Malmsteen is one of the greatest guitar players ever, but I'll put my guy Kurt James up against him any day. Kurt James just recently got done touring with Graham Bonnet, and Graham Bonnet was in a few bands, Alcatraz to be one of them. So some of you older people that are listening will definitely know who that is. Graham Bonnet, one of the greatest singers ever. Look him up. And so my friend, guitarist Kurt James, played with him, and we had a band called Only the Brave and a band called Snagglepuss back in the day in Orange County. And our music, we were very influenced by Jimi Hendrix and Edward Van Halen. And then if we want to talk about, the blues elements of music too, big influence of me too, John Lee Hooker. So every time I heard something growing up, NPR actually is a great source of hearing diverse music. And I heard a lot of it growing up. So that was really influential in the music making, if you will.
Pretty much you could find all kinds of old videos on YouTube. And I want to play a clip from Only the Brave, the Forever video.
It's cold outside. Oh, it's cold to the touch. Are you willing to work things out? Me, myself, and I, all for one and one for all. That's when I start to cry. Ooh, Lord, while I try to keep it up. The faith and love and
So Shawn, what can you tell us about that video? Does that bring back some memories?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wrote that song a while ago. One of my first songs that I wrote on the piano. And it came about where I went to Hollywood and I looked up my buddy John Avila, who is in the band Oingo Boingo, and since then has produced many great records. And I said, hey, I got this idea for this tune. And I just, I'm not quite sure how to phrase it or whatnot. So anyway, long story short, he helped me make the song. And I was like, wow, it came out great. So I was like, well, we better put a video to it. And I didn't have really any money. I kind of spent all the dough on the recording, So I thought to myself, at the time I was living in Flagstaff, and I knew this kid named Patrick, and his dad was head of the media department up there in Northern Arizona University of Northern Arizona, one of those two. And so I was able to rent a camera, and then I had a little video camera of my own, and I had Patrick, the son, come out. Yowell is his last name, Patrick Yow. And I had him come out and run the big camera, for the big shots. And I used the handheld, for some of the other things, and we just went for it. And that's all just like the first takes. And luckily, I found a young man that was really good in the editing room. I think that's where it all happens. That's where the magic happens. And so he put it together really well, and I was able to pay him for that, and that all worked out. So that's how that came about. My first effort at doing anything like that, I thought it came out pretty good. Obviously, it could be better, could have had this, that, or the other. But for what it was, I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah. What year did that come out?
Yeah, that was 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, so 12 years ago.
It's a great song. It's a really, really cool song.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. So just back to that, then the new song I'm doing is also driven by the piano. And I wrote this one for my wife. And I'll get you a snippet of it down the road, but I'm hoping to get it out for Valentine's Day. But it's we must all stand together. And boy, do we need to do that right now, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
As people. So interesting, kind of went full circle here with the music, because that was my first tune, and then now this one. And that still gets lots of hits, and I still sell it. So that's another thing. I think, those who want to write their music and, just really be yourself and be adamant about what you want in your songs, but always communicate and take good critique, just like in acting. Very important.
So we opened the show with a clip from No Time to Run. You are one of the leading cast members in this film. You play a co-talker's great grandson. Can you talk to us a little bit about the character you play and about the film?
Yeah. Howie Bridgewater is his name, and his great-grandfather in World War II was a co-talker from the Pawnee people. And it's so cool because obviously, my look takes that understanding a long ways without even having to say anything. So in the script, I was able to look at the lines, especially when it came to the Native American parts of it, if you will, for sensitivity, for saying something that we would say as opposed to another race of people, how they might look at something, right? So what I liked about it was that there wasn't too much fudging, if you will, to do. There was a few things that I thought was more of a third person look than an individual saying it and living it and breathing it. So you obviously notice that I'm, I've got long hair and I'm, I am who I am. And as we gradually get into the movie, we talk about that. And so she has a big problem with her father, who's Herman Cain, who passed away, unfortunately, and living up to his expectations, his model, his civic duty, etc. And I identified with the character because my father was in the service. But for us in particular, in the Native American cinema world, that's why I chose to do this film, because we don't have very many parts like that as a group or individuals, i.e. a mainstream part that this guy just happens to be Native American. And look how many other facets he has: a family man, a business owner, a father, a community driver and member. These things that I think that we have lost sight of as a nation. So with No Time to Run, it's the premise is about a young Black woman and her family, and her father is the mayor of this small town in Missouri. And things are going okay, but she's kind of giving this, not sure where she is in her life, if you will, at this point in time. Her son's getting ready to go to college. Her husband's always been a real laid back guy, definitely on point when he needs to be, but pretty laid back. So she's questioning life. And as we get through the film, we meet one of the senators that's involved with this petition, if you will, to do some changes in America that might not be right for the individual or the group of people. And I remind her, you know, throughout the film, even with I have a little, I guess a proverb or an elegy, if you will. I state a little story to her, and she kind of just says, "Oh, that's ridiculous," you know, at the time, but it really makes sense towards the end of the film. And so I didn't have to stretch too far to be an actor in this, because I really felt like it was me anyway. I really did. I grew up in a lot of these circumstances. I believe in the flag. I believe in our country. I understand many things that have happened to, especially to Native American people. We've been through the gauntlet and back, and you know, and just like the black man or the Asian man or anybody else that had their somebody step on them, if you will, we're sick of it. We don't need it anymore. Look beyond me. You said I was deep earlier. You darn right I am. And the reason I am is because we all are, and we can't be superficial every day of our life. We have a wealth and a well of knowledge within us that needs to be applied, whether you know it or not. It's part of how the world goes around. So I was able to do that in this film, and I was able to be the rock. Not a big, hard, smashing rock with a wave smashing against it, but more of a rock that's in the middle of a river or a stream. And I was able to guide my wife, Melanie, in this film to do the right thing. And I was really proud of that, because what do we see in a lot of communities in Native America? We don't see anything like that. Good marriages, children going to college. I could go on and on. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Of course it does. But because of media, which we're both in, we see the ugly side of things a lot in our reservations, and not the good things as much. So another opportunity to show, hey, this guy can work. He doesn't have to drink. He doesn't have to be a fool. He has a son that's going to college, valedictorian in high school. Hey, that's America to me. And no matter how hard it is for you, you can do better. You really can. I believe that. I believe that. I believe that. And that's what America's all about. And I'm sorry I'm tooting that horn all the time, but this is all we got. I'm not going to move somewhere else and think it's going to get better. I'm not going to go out into outer space and think it's going to get better. This is it. So I want to do the best that I can. And I want to do roles in films and sing songs about the best of us and not the worst of us.
And you know, it's a serious film. It touches based on history. It has time travel in it. You're a time traveler in it.
Yeah, wow. So the whole thing with Ben Franklin, you got to do some research into history to really get this film. But that harmonica that is used for time travel is a real device. And there are real questions about what was it really used for. So that's really cool. The fact that this woman's family is interwoven into the fabric of America like that is very cool. And now we have a woman embracing George Washington in this film. Little controversial at this point in time. Some people want to tear down his statues because he was a slave owner. But if you really pay attention to this film, it's over a hamburger of all things, which is light. But she really puts a dagger in him about being accountable for being a slave owner. And I think that the moxie on the writer's part and her part to deliver that in such a way. And that is a great question. Wow, well, how come you didn't do nothing about it? What? So nobody's perfect. Was it wrong? Yes, it was. Did he get rid of all of his slaves? Did he sell them? Did he let them into freedom at the end of their whatever it was with his agreement? As far as I understand in the history books, yes, he did. Did he profit off that? I don't know. But are things that we got to address. We have to talk about these things. Father of our country, maybe debatable. Maybe. I mean, we look at who's in power now, and if that's my father, man, I'm going to run. But, you know, these words are important, you know, like I said, the father, I mean, you know, the composure that a man or woman holds in high office, for example, it's very important because we are all watching. And leaders are important, very important. And so I think another aspect of this film and being able to go back in time was to maybe bring up some of that discussion. And I would love this film to be shown in schools and whatnot, because it brings up discussion. I'm not asking you to believe one way or another in any of it, but except for one part, which would be the family ideal, the American citizen, the cultural citizen. I think those points got across in the film, and I'm proud of that.
Absolutely. And you know, it was a learning experience for me because, as you said, I did not know that film was that instrument actually existed. But one of the other things is I didn't know, I was not aware that at one point George Washington freed his slaves towards the end of his life, and that is something that is you know, that's a very intense speech that she gives to him at the close of the film. So
yeah,
so I'm glad you bring that up. Absolutely.
Well, it's important because it's in people's hearts and minds right now. You know, our next president has a lot to do and a lot to try to accomplish. But again, it's back to basics. If you kind of want to compartmentalize it, you know, as people, we have to, you know, common sense is common sense. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to have it. So
Absolutely.
I just think people need to pause and think about all the great things, you know, like watching FNX, for example. Wow, innovative, free, that we as a society are able to do these things. And that's where the future is.
And the idea is because, you know, us as Native communities, we don't have representation in media to the extent that other communities do. And so trying to offer this channel and make it as accessible to everybody is part of our mandate, you know. And I mean, we, you know, sadly, like we're from a lot of communities, you know, like we're south of the border Native, you know, that's what I am. My family's Maya. We couldn't really afford cable or any type of paid subscription service. And so having a free channel that offers us representation, you know, as it is for a lot of tribes across the country that either don't have, you know, cable companies servicing their reservations or their areas that they live in, or it's, you know, it's just that if they did, they wouldn't be able to afford it. You know, having a free over the air broadcast channel is huge to us. And that's what we strive for.
I've seen some great things on it over the years, and well, I guess probably the main thing I'm glad about is that you still are here. We've had other things that have come and gone, and great ideas, but you know, no stability, no foundation, and I'm so happy about that. You know, we look at our brothers and sisters in Canada. You know, they really got it going on when it comes to television and film and so on and so forth. And I know that we can do that too. It's just convincing the upper echelon in Hollywood and those that have the purse strings, if you will, that this is a necessity as more than a, you know, an extra. And I know a lot of young people in our world today, you know, they need that embrace. They need to know that is there for them. And again, we could go on and on about education, you know, why isn't the channel in every school and every reservation? Why isn't, you know, I could go on and on. So we have to talk about those things. Yeah.
Well, Shawn, thank you for visiting with us. We're out of time. Really, really appreciate you being on FNX Now today.
You bet. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you. It's been a real pleasure.
The film is No Time to Run, available at notimetorun.com via Vimeo on demand. Let's close with the trailer to the film. Bash Kawalik, thank you for watching FNX Now.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Well, here's a story that seems to be burning up the internet, as it should, I might add. Melanie Bridgewater saved a flag.
Have you seen this? What is it?
This is your father. It's my father. It's all of our fathers.
Mom, you have gone viral.
It was just a flag, Senator.
It was the start of a movement.
So what are we looking for? It's called an harmonica. I think it was Ben Franklin's. This journal is his, as is the harmonica, which is not really a musical instrument at all, but a time machine.
With 90% of the voting locations reporting in, we can safely call the Clintonville mayoral election.
They made me the mayor, Dad.
I don't have any experience.
What have you done other than always run away from any challenge that you were faced with?
This conversation must remain strictly confidential.
The president, by executive action, plans to create a new global government.
The federal government has become a haven of career politicians who lust after power and wealth, and I believe that there is a plan in place that will declare the U.S. Constitution null and void.
Imagine talking to Ben Franklin or George Washington.
It is not in me to do this.
You are the strongest woman I know, even if you don't know it.
Your voice has reached across time and space back to us. Do not underestimate yourself.
When was the last time you did anything for your city? When was the last time you did anything for your country?
I'm a runner. I run away from every challenge I've ever faced.
Wield your voice. It's the most powerful weapon you possess.